Good evening, everyone. My name is Sherry Schlomer. I'm glad to be here tonight. And just to give you a little background about myself, I am an educator, have been in education for about 20 years. Career in technical education is my focus, which brings us to our discussion tonight. I'm very excited to bring to you two remarkable young men who have developed a game for cybersecurity. It's a training module. You're going to hear more about it. So let's start with introductions. Simeon, would you like to start?
Yeah, hey, I'm Simeon. I'm the founder of the KC7 Foundation and the KC7 game, which teaches it teaches anyone how to, work and enjoy cybersecurity. I work as a cybersecurity analyst in my day job, and I love everything about it. So happy to be here.
Awesome. Glad you're with us tonight. And Greg?
Hey everyone, I'm Greg Schlomer. I am the vice president here at the KC7 Foundation. I'm also a cybersecurity analyst at my day job. Super excited to talk to everyone a little bit more about KC7 and all the awesome learning opportunities we have.
Awesome. Glad to have you join us as well. So I have lots and lots of questions. The first thing I'd like to start with, however, is how on earth, where did this idea come from? I would love to know the story behind that.
Yeah, I started working on KC7 back in 2019. It was right after I graduated from college. And, when I was getting into the industry myself, I got it in college. I always thought I got in because I had played a game that was very much like KC7 that allowed me to essentially solve a cyber mystery, right? Something had happened and you didn't know what, and you had to look through all this data and figure out the story of like, okay, well, who did it? Who stole the data? And I remember there was a particular moment where I had figured out like how the data was stolen and I was able to graph it. And I was so excited. And I was like, if I can do this for a living, I would absolutely love that. And so for years, I'd been trying to figure out, how I could recreate that moment for so many other people, because a lot of people don't get that opportunity. And so when I graduated, I started working on this, dinky little Python script to create that sort of thing. And eventually, it got to a point that we had something viable. And then I met Greg, and working with Greg, we took it to a whole different level. So I'll let Greg tell maybe his perspective of learning about KC7.
Awesome.
Yeah, so Simeon came to me at work and said, "Hey, I've got this little side project I've been working on. The idea is I want to make an opportunity for everyone in the world to experience what we experience as cybersecurity analysts every day." And I said, "That's really cool. I love it, but that sounds kind of crazy. How are we going to do it?" And he said, "Well, I've mostly already done it." And so he showed me some of his code. He showed me the premise of what would become KC7.
It was a good code.
It wasn't, yeah.
It was code. It wasn't good.
It was code. And I said, "Yeah, I think we can work with this." And really, the rest is history. It was something that we've continued to develop over the past couple of years. And I think what really stuck with me when Simeon came to me with this idea, Simeon shares a similar experience in this, but we both took cybersecurity classes at the university level, right? And cybersecurity is an awesome field. We absolutely love what we do. It's exhilarating. Every single day is so much fun. But we took these cybersecurity classes, and you just don't get that same feeling. It's lots of lectures, lots of textbooks, lots of like super heavy technical concepts. For the vast majority of people, that is their first taste of cyber, right? A classroom, a lecture, a textbook. You're completely missing what makes cybersecurity so exciting and so fun. And so when Simeon came to me and said, "Hey, I want to put the fun in everybody's hands," I was like, it's an obvious solution to this problem of not having enough talent in the cybersecurity field. So that's what really captivated me. And that is why I've loved every second of this journey that's been KC7.
So can you explain to me what the name KC7 means?
Yeah, everyone always asks that. It's such a funny name, right? You'd
Right.
expect us to name it something like cyber, cyber detective or, and initially we didn't have a name for it. And then we got to a point where we had to give it a name. And it was like, what name would make sense for this game? And we named it KC7. KC7 stands for, as a reference to the cyber kill chain by Lockheed Martin, which is a model for understanding what steps bad guys have to take in order to compromise an organization, either steal their data or ransom all their stuff. And so the idea behind KC7 is that you actually get to see an intrusion, right? As opposed to someone like talking theoretically about it for you. You get to see an intrusion. You get to see someone hacking a company, like from the very beginning and every single step along the way. And so, like, if you're really good at this game, you will have seen what has happened at each of the 7 phases. Now, we don't use the cyber kill chain to model our data anymore. We use MITRE ATT&CK, but that's a whole different story. But, even with the name, there's something to be learned there.
Okay, so that's where KC7 came from. So my question is, the idea of a game, how do you incorporate all of this technical jargon or whatever into a game where you're learning something, you're learning the skills, but at the same time, you're understanding all those technical concepts and difficult terms and that sort of thing? As an educator, I'm a little curious about that.
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. And I think that's kind of the magic, the secret sauce to KC7, right? You're actually doing something that's very technical and really pretty complex, but you don't even know it. It's fun. It's a game. It's a challenge. The cool thing for us in making like gamified cyber training is that cybersecurity is naturally a game. Even without any modification or building fancy platforms, cybersecurity is all about attackers versus defenders. So it is just naturally a game. We were able to take that and create this opportunity, this experience with KC7 that allows you to, even if you don't really know what you're doing, even if it's your first taste of cybersecurity ever, you can get hands-on in the data and, like Simeon said earlier, basically solve a mystery. You're a cyber detective. You're investigating like a cyber murder mystery. So every cyber attack has a story. Every cyber attack has a good person, a bad person. And it's your job as the investigator to figure out what happened in that hack.
Wow. So if even if I had, for example, if I had no coding skills or no prior knowledge of cyber at all, I could actually get into this game and understand how to navigate it.
Yeah, and that's what we do for every game, isn't it? Like, suppose you go to the store and you buy yourself, a PS5 and you buy some, brand new game, right? There's a certain set of rules that you have to learn for the game, right? You go in, right? You do the tutorial. They tell you, well, this is how this universe operates. Here's the superpowers that the characters have. Here's their strengths. Here's their weaknesses. Here are all the button combinations you have to press to make the characters jump, run, etc. Here's how their life points work. And a lot of games have very complex systems. And this is just another game, right? We put you in our game universe. We explain you the rules of how you earn points. We explain you the rules of how you find stuff, and then you just play the game. The technical jargon, the IT stuff, the cybersecurity stuff, that's just the rules of the game. And just like any other game, you just learn the rules. And what we find is that, when we position the game in that way, you get people of any background are able to pick it up because because the intimidation factor is kind of gone. And so you get like elementary schoolers, middle schoolers, you just put them in there and they're just like, okay, well, these are just the rules of the game, right? And they can like pick up these technical concepts because they're not being intimidated. They don't think they're learning anything. They're just operating with the rules of the game and they're just having a lot of fun with it.
This is an amazing idea. So it's geared toward all ages, all backgrounds. So you could go all the way from an elementary person to say I'm as an adult, I want to get into a new career field. Is it for me?
It works for absolutely everyone. We built it really with sort of the transitioning working professional to college student audience in mind. But then as we were continuing to improve on the design, we actually realized that it works really, really well for everyone. So we've had players from fourth graders all the way through vice presidents at technology companies in cybersecurity roles. And just like Simeon was saying earlier, you know, it's just a game, whether you understand the cybersecurity concepts or not. It's a challenge. We explain to you the rules of the game. We explain the world that you're operating in, how you earn points, how you beat the game. And that's something that, you know, gaming is kind of a universal experience that really resonates with everybody, people from all ages and all backgrounds.
Yeah. And one thing we always hear from people is always like, I think they're kind of shocked after they play the game because they go in and you hear the word cybersecurity and it sounds big and scary, right? And then you go in and you play our little game and then you're like, wait a minute, like that was it? And we're like, yeah, that's it. Like there's not much more to it, right? Like, you know, you might add a few rules here and there, right? But you have the basics of it, right? Like you know, you know how the game works in general. So the rules might change. We might add more rules. We may, you know, change a few joysticks here and there, change a few characters here and there, but you have the gist of it. And I think we've seen over and over again, so many people fall in love with the process and fall in love with the game just because they realize that, hey, this is actually something that I might want to do and that I would actually enjoy doing.
That's awesome. So do you do any tweaking for your younger audiences as a teacher? I'm curious about that. If you're going to come in and teach this game to my fifth graders, are you going to make modifications for that age group, or do you find they do just as well as an adult playing the game?
Yeah, it might surprise some people to hear this, but we really don't have to change the game. Fourth and fifth graders today have grown up around technology, right? There are no strangers to a keyboard and a mouse and experiencing different kinds of learning online. So, like I mentioned before, we've actually used this with fourth and fifth graders, and they blew our minds. They exceeded all of our expectations. They saw it as a game. They saw it as a challenge. They saw it as an opportunity to compete against their peers, and they embraced it. They kept an open mind. They struggled a little bit. They fell down. They got back up, and they had lots of fun. And I think we can all really learn a lot from the way they interacted with it, right? They weren't afraid to try something new. And they were okay with the fact that it might have been a little bit challenging, but they came out on the other side having learned something and having grown from it.
And it's interesting, this concept that you're describing in education, those of us in education know it as project-based learning, but that's basically what you're doing. That's exactly what you're doing. So what experiences have you had and what ages have you experienced? Do you do classes? Do you do camps? What kinds of things do you offer for school age students?
Yeah, so we've done, you know, all sorts of experiences and you know, of course, we're still growing. So as we progress, we'll have more opportunities. We did a camp that Greg mentioned for fourth through seventh graders, and we're hoping to do more of those where it was a week-long experience where the students got to learn cybersecurity every day for 5 days straight. And they learned a lot from it. You know, we've done day sessions and typically this is the best offering where, you know, we will come in for 3, 4, 5 hours and just talk to students about our careers, but also play the game with them. And the best thing is that, you know, teachers can actually play this game with their students without us there, right? So if you're an educator and you're looking for, you know, quick and accessible and engaging content for your students, we can actually help you set up the sessions if we're not there, so that your students can play and get this rich experience out of it. And that's something that we're excited about making available.
And I'll add to that too, if you're an educator and you're interested in using KC7 with your students, you don't at all need to be a cybersecurity expert. The entire experience is very self-explanatory. It's very accessible. You don't even need to be a technology teacher. You don't need to have a computer science background. We will work with you, help you get a session set up for your students, and support you however you might need to bring that experience to your classes.
So they would just need to contact you guys and you would set them up for training. How does that work exactly?
Yeah, so they can get in touch with us, and then we can give them all the necessary materials, get all the infrastructure set up. So essentially, they just need the prerequisite info. They read through it, and they have a special link that they provide to their students, and the students figure it all out from there. It's fairly simple. We've done it over and over again with students, especially in that high school ranges and college range is really perfect, where they really take it and they run with it and they have so much fun.
Awesome. So I have to ask, have you had any participants in these camps or classes that have actually decided they want to do cybersecurity for a living? This is their career.
We actually have several of those stories. We could probably each share some. So in the summer camp that we ran last year, we had a couple of high school students who they were actually recent graduates. And the cool thing about that is they were former KC7 session participants. So like 4 or 5 months before the camp, they were actually on the student side of the experience, learning and playing KC7 for the first time. So they were so excited by what they saw when they played KC7 that they actually went to their teachers and said, hey, if there's ever a future opportunity to be involved with this, I'm all in. And so we approached them about the idea of the summer camp. They came back and they helped us for a week. And essentially by the end of the week, they were the ones doing all the work. They were the ones doing the teaching. Simeon and I and other folks from the KC7 team were basically just there watching and having fun. But at least 2 of those camp counselors are actively pursuing cybersecurity jobs and or education opportunities. So I think they're both studying computer science and they're both looking for internships in cyber, and they had 0 interest before. So that's pretty cool experience for us.
That's
Yeah.
a great success story. That's awesome. So did you guys set out to be cybersecurity analysts? I mean, was that your goal when you went to college? I'm just curious
Not at
what
all.
you thought you would do.
I thought I would go to medical school. So I stumbled into cyber by accident. I wanted to go to medical school, decided I wasn't doing it for the right reasons, switched to accounting, and then I went to the library, picked up an accounting book, decided to read through it, fell asleep, and then that's when I realized that wasn't for me. And then I heard about the cybersecurity thing, and I said, hey, I'll try it. Like I said, I ended up playing a game that was just like uh, KC7. And that was really the eye-opening experience for me that I could do this long term. And then I got an internship. And in the internship, they really just let me sit and just be an analyst and just do what full-time employees were doing for a couple of years. And so I got a chance to just sit with data and just like play around and make mistakes and just learn. And really, I think that's a secret recipe that a lot of people don't get, right? Because unless you happen to be lucky, right place, right time, and get access to interesting data and get to play around and make mistakes, you don't get to grow as quickly in our field. And so I was lucky enough to be in that situation, which is what I'm trying to recreate, which is what we're trying to recreate for so many people. And I think Greg has probably a similar experience.
Yeah, it was actually very similar. So I was studying computer science, and had no interest in cyber, really didn't know anything about it. I used the same password for every account. And then I had an internship and I showed up on day 1 and they said, you're going to do cybersecurity. And I fell in love with it for all the reasons we've talked about. The fact that it's challenging, the fact that it's rewarding, it's different every day. But it was that opportunity to sit down next to cybersecurity experts and to get my hands on data and to, live the life of an analyst. That's really what enabled me to be successful. And that's another reason that Simeon and I have pursued building KC7 so so aggressively is because we realized, that was a transformative opportunity for both of us, having that internship, having that experience to be an analyst. And unfortunately, there are only so many internship spots, right? And that's sort of a high barrier to entry. Not everyone can get an internship, unfortunately. So if we can give that experience to more people and remove an internship as like the requirement to get that experience, then we can change the game. And that's exactly what we've done with KC7.
How do you guys, I'm sure you have seen other cybersecurity training modules, software. How do you feel KC7 is different?
Yeah. The game itself is just the data, right? We have a lot of fancy, shiny, gamified stuff. We have a leveling system. We have badges. We have a shiny scoreboard. You compete against other people. But the true game itself within KC7 is just the data, and it is a full intrusion that you can just go analyze. And you don't have to stick to the script. So we ask you all these questions, but the true value of it, and people start realizing this, is that even if you forget about our platform and our system and you just look at the data, you can go off rails and just analyze stuff. And you can see that, like, if you start to understand how stuff works, you can predict where you can find indicators of malicious activity. You can like find bad guys in places where we didn't even tell you they were, right? And when people start realizing like, oh man, this is just like the real thing, that is the true magic of it. So we try to incentivize people going through the data. We'll show you, one specific path you can use to analyze the data. But at the end of the day, right, you can just investigate like an analyst. And if you can talk about your investigation with an interviewer, right? Like I started here with this, suspicious alert. And then I went here and then I made this pivot and I made this conclusion. That itself is worth its weight in gold. Like that is ultimately like we always say you're showing critical thinking, analytical reasoning, and communication. You show those three things in a cyber context to an interviewer, I think that will wow them every time.
That's awesome. And as I'm coming from this from two different perspectives. I'm thinking as a teacher, I would love to introduce this to my kids at my school. But there's also a part of me that is very curious about this could be a new job skill that I could pick up too. So let me ask your opinion on this. Here's a person I have taught limited computer classes. I have no knowledge at all. Where do I begin with KC7? If I wanted to go to your website, what do I do to get started?
Yeah, I think it's pretty easy. The answer is the same for anyone, whether you have no experience or lots of experience, right? Just play it. It's built so that even if you have no interest whatsoever in pursuing a career in cybersecurity, you'll still have fun. Every module is a mystery. It's sort of like you're playing Clue, but on your computer and you're writing fancy queries, right? And it's got a little bit of a cybersecurity flavor. So I always tell people you need to play KC7 because odds are you have no idea what it actually looks like and feels like to work in cybersecurity. I would say 98% of people don't really know what that looks like. I didn't know what it looked like until I actually had a job, right? So how can you say I have no interest in a career in cyber if you don't know what it looks like? So that's why we say KC7 is literally for everyone. Whether you think you're coming to learn cyber or you just want to have some fun on a Friday night and do something cool online, go try it. You might surprise yourself and you might learn a thing or two.
And you might just have fun, right? Even if you decide you don't want to do cybersecurity. I mean, who doesn't love them a little mystery game? And that's what it is. It's a fun mystery game, and people have gotten lost. They'll play one module and they're like, wait, this is not so bad, and they'll find themselves just like chasing the actors for hours on end in all of our other modules. And the storylines really bring you in. You're chasing a bad guy. You're like, okay, why did they compromise this company? Where can I find them? There's a really cool feeling you get, right? When you're looking for something for so long, you're thinking about what are different ways, different paths I can take to like get to the solution. And when you finally get to that solution, like it's a wonderful feeling that I think everyone enjoys.
Oh, absolutely. So do you have different skill levels throughout the game and you advance as how does that work? Because obviously I'd have to start at the beginner level.
So yeah, we do have modules of varying difficulty levels. The module that we recommend everyone starts with, it's great for beginners. It will walk you through how to use the tools to solve the challenge, really from the very beginning. As Simeon said earlier, though, if you are a little more experienced in cybersecurity, the cool part about KC7 is that you can go outside of the questions, right? The questions are kind of just like your safety rope to guide you through the sea of data. But once you get comfortable and you feel like you're up for a little bit more of a challenge, you can definitely go look and explore the rest of the data. And there's some really cool stuff that we sort of hide in there that can be a fun little mystery to solve.
Awesome. So if I would like to challenge anyone who's watching this and you just have a little bit of curiosity about this cool murder mystery cybersecurity game, that you would join me. Well, that's a good question. Do you have a community where we can play together? And you know how these gaming communities are. You can actually get in there and talk about what you've experienced, where you're hung up, that sort of thing. Do you have that available for players?
Yeah, of course. We have a KC7 community on Discord. So
Okay.
kc7.com/community. You'll join over 1,000 people who are already playing KC7 or talking about it. If you have a question, you get stuck, you want to share your experiences, folks are very active and very friendly and very inviting that will, welcome you to the community, and they're always willing to talk with us. Folks have been with us from almost the very beginning, and we're very passionate about sharing the love for KC7. We also sometimes do monthly events where you can just join us online on a Saturday. And we announce those on our Twitter, LinkedIn, and other platforms. You can just come join us, and you get to play KC7 in a group setting with other people, and you get to learn in a very safe environment. So highly recommend those options.
The other cool thing about our Discord community and those monthly events is that we actually have lots of very experienced cybersecurity professionals who will come and participate in those events and just kind of hang around in the Discord. So it can be a really cool place to go and, interact with some people who are in the industry and learn from them and talk to them and get to know them a little bit.
This sounds like a lot of fun. This is something I am definitely going to pursue. And I would love to invite anyone out there that's watching this who would like to take part in this. Can you tell them where they go and what they need to do to get started?
Yeah. So go ahead, Simeon.
Very simple. Just go to kc7cyber.com and click on the Play Now button, and you just create an account, and you can play the beginner module. It's self-explanatory. If you get stuck, join our Discord channel, ask a question. We're always happy to help. And we can't wait to see you on KC7.
Awesome. I'm very, very excited to try this. And I think what I'm going to do this week, I'm going to have some clips of me actually playing this game. So I'm looking forward to seeing who joins me. And if you have watched this video, be sure to comment that you saw this and this is why you're trying it. And reach out to Greg and Simeon as well. I'm sure they'd love to hear from you. So we plan to do this weekly. We're going to have these discussions, and we may be talking to some folks who have actually played this game, who have found their way into cybersecurity through KC7. So we have lots of exciting things coming your way over the next few weeks. And any final words from either of you before we call this a night?
Yeah, we hope to see you on KC7. We hope to see you in our community, and we hope to see all the points you rack up on the leaderboard.
Yeah, we can't wait to see you on KC7. We do this because we have a lot of fun and we enjoy doing it, and so we're just trying to share it with as many people as possible. So can't wait to see you there.
Guys, thank you so much for your time, and thanks for anyone who's joining us tonight, and we will see you soon.